Hello, this is Dr. Mike. This is for my CIS 2642 pen test class, and this is a little quick demo about a possible way to do we're looking at network exploits, network vulnerabilities, or actually app vulnerabilities. It's a mixed bag here, but it's around topic 10 and I'll post this video. So, and it applies to a few different areas. But anyways, we have our system here. We have a system, our target is this 192.168.68.12. So with that in mind, I've scanned that, and I did an Nmap dash SV, uppercase V. So I'm looking, of course, on that. So Nmap, again, fantastic tool. And so right off the bat, what jumps out to me here, target-wise, is this Samba port, SMBD. So Samba is sort of what Linux sees. Samba shares a way for Linux to talk to Windows. So, and of course, Windows might have SMB running. So the NetBIOS SMB is definitely a huge attack vector. Eternal Blue leveraged some attacks against this. But look at that port 445. That really jumped out at me. So I want to go ahead and do some stuff with that. So here I'm going to go ahead and do Ifconfig. I'm going to just double check my IP address is 192.168.9.2. I already know this, but I'm just going to double check it. I might need it in an attack if I'm going to do any kind of remote shell. So take note of your local IP address always. Not just local. Now right now I'm in NetLab, so I'm actually on the network. If you're checking from a home or maybe VPN, you need to see what your IP address is outside of your router. So if you're doing any kind of callbacks. So just keep that in mind. So again, we want to do this. So I'm going to Metasploit first. So I'm going msfdb start. So make sure the database is running in case I need to call anything for it. And msf console. So we're going to jump into Metasploit. I'll make this window a little bigger. Make sure that's really where it's at. So one of the commands you can do in definitely Metasploit is you can do info, and then you can search for, like, if I'm looking for an exploits for Linux, for Samba, hit tab a couple times, and I get info about one of these. I'm gonna look for, I'm not going to go through it, but chain heap and so on. But you can do the same thing with other things. Don't forget, now Metasploit is more than just an exploitation framework. We can use this for further scanning. So always look at auxiliary scanner. Now I know it's under SMB, and you can see I hit tab already a couple times here. Pipe author, so on. But we have some scanners. We have a login scanner, we have a unit cred scanner, version scanner. So maybe if we need to get more information, maybe there's a sub patch level, this might be unlock more information. For now, though, we're definitely going to look at the login scanner. So SMB. Login. And so if you do info, it gives you reference to the credential if there's any CV references. But you get information about it. This is a login checker, where it's from. You can find a remote, maybe the author's website. It could be updates. And you can try, if you want, you can try blank passwords. It tells you what's required, what's not, and it is in current default settings. So of course, off the bat, we need to have our hosts. Now, I mentioned before, it's either our host or our hosts. Not a big deal. If you put our host and you go to run it, it will set our host. But you go to run it, it will say no our host found. So it's little minor things. But what I'm actually looking for is the port. Of course, we definitely need a port, and it's set to 445. And again, that is what we're at here. So if this was a different port, like 40, 45, whatever, I would adjust that with the set command, set our port to whatever it would be. So you can use the information for this, and of course, hit your up arrow. Instead of using info, I'm going to type the word use. Now you can see it's loaded auxiliary SMB login. Type set, it'll show you what's currently being set. There's no name and passwords right now. Those are optional, looking at the info. But I'm going to set, of course, the R host. So set R hosts. Here's your tab key, that way you know you get it right. Of course, we know we got 192.168 .68.12. That is set, and I'm going to run it. So now it's a really quick scan. You're like, well, did it work? Well, it did. Look at this. We have some system knowledge guest sessions with any credentials. Well, that right there could be used in an attack. So we can do further scanning with Metasploit than just that. So, but also we have other things we can use. So here, up arrow, SMB, tab a couple of times. We can have enumerate shares. So let's look for a share, any shared directories. That's always a good one. So now we know we can use any credentials. What's being shared? It's possible too much is being shared. What looks, like maybe a public will be shared, but maybe there's other stuff that you wouldn't expect someone to share, especially on SMB port. And maybe this is exposed to the web. Maybe it's a local only network share, but we can still see it from getting our foothold somewhere. So NUM shares. So I'm going to do hit the up arrow again. It's going to double check. I'm just going to set our hosts. I don't know if it's host or hosts. I'll just type set here, and we should see. Okay, I think it's our hosts. I think we set that. We'll run it. We'll see what happens. So hit run. Again, if it doesn't work, oh, look at that, it did work. So it found we have var etc user, we have a disk OWASP BWPA is being shared, and because it's an OWASP server on Samba, Ubuntu. So we can see var etc user, and these are being shared, as well as some print drivers and so on. So again, we're using these scanners to really dig deeper into this service and expose this more stuff here. So let's look at some other tools that we have at our disposal here. So clear that screen off there. Using this up here, we're going to go ahead and leverage some other attacks. So our first one is we can look at something called I have it here. There's a lot of tools, and I've seen this tool before, so I'm just going to expose a few extra tools to you. There's enumerate for Linux, ENU for Linux, ENM. It's a great way to enumerate for Windows and Samba shares. It looks for all kinds of stuff, and we can see there's all the options here. I'm not going to go through all the options. ENMU for Linux. This is the Kali Tools page, and of course there's a home page. I don't want to go into all that here. This is more of a demo. I want to run this, and I'm going to do the -O option. I think it's -O. Double check. --lowercase o. Get OS information. I can do that if I want. Let's just do -A actually. Let's run the simple stuff, right? So it's nice to have that. So -A. So and now this is installed by Kali by default. So ENMU for, if I get it right, it's always fun to ENUM for Linux. There we go. So let's do -A, and then we looked at our, of course, you can do the man page for this, do --help, but you can see we just need to give it options and the IP address. So, which is, I should probably copy and paste this, but 192.168.68.12. Again, I have it in my notes. And whoa, okay, all kinds of stuff going through here. And we have some stuff here. It says, well, it's username password. It's like we found the password somewhere works. There's no printers found. So you go through all the output here. And so what we do is we're using custom tools outside of Metasploit that might help us based on the Linux operating system. We know it's Linux. I might be able to figure out user IDs. It says username password has come up inside here. That's a possible password. It's been enumerated. So, and it's looking for other stuff here, groups and so on. Again, copy and paste the stuff to your notes. It might come in handy later. So what I'm going to do is, knowing this thing has a lot of exposed services and directories, I'm going to use another tool called Cool, or Custom Wordless Generator. So we want to plan an attack. We know we can log in with any credentials, so we'll pick 3 credentials: root, nobody, and user. Pretty standard credentials. You can find default word lists and using the user share directory with all kinds of common logins. Always look for those; they're great. So for now, though, we're going to go ahead and include the screen up here. I'm going to go ahead and run this cool. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually do the minimum word length a little larger. Default's 3. We're going to have to give it a 5. And then we're going to do an output, write the word list in output file. So write-w. So CEWL. And again, so we're going to do -m. Remember, word length, word list of 5. Actually, we'll give the IP address first. 92.168.68.12. I'm going to do a word list, minimum word list length of 5. And basically, we're going to generate some possible passwords here. And we're going to send it to a file. We're going to call it word list. Not very creative. And we'll let that run. Okay. So we'll just take a last look at. All right, we have some possible word lists here. OWASP came up, so you may have scraped that from the page and information. Admin only comes up, credentials, and so on. Again, what do we get here? We just cat word list pipe to word count -l. 3,411 possible word lists. We're going to create a user list. So I'm just going to vi user list. And I actually did earlier. But I added root, nobody, user. I could add a couple other ones I wanted to, but those are 3. Add some common ones. Nobody's probably a good one because that's going to be one that will probably come in. Because we know that this Samba port allows for what was it? The Samba scanner, so it allows for anyone to log in. So anyways, we're going to clear it off, and we're going to use our next tool here. It's Hydra. So if we look at Hydra, is a fantastic tool. So Hydra is what we're going to do is we're going to point Hydra at a service. So Hydra is a great way to attack services. What you can attack is usually listed somewhere in the help. There's some examples here. You can see we want to pass in an actual password list and user list. So look for the options and make sure that they're correct. Lower and uppercase are different. In the case, if I'm sending a single login ID, it's lowercase l. If I'm doing a file, it's uppercase L. Same with the password. Single password is lowercase p, uppercase P for our password file. So, and of course, you need to give it at the very end of your thing here what you're attacking, your service, server port, and you can give it an actual name of the service. And listed below here, it says somewhere below here we have the list. You look at the man page for it. No surprise, you can put SSH, Telnet, FTP, SMB. So we want to point this at SMB. So HYDRA, we can type. So again, we're going to point Hydra at it, and we're going to see if we can get something to kick off here. And so we're going to do -uppercase L, and we're going to do that user list. -uppercase P, we're going to give it that word list that was generated from cool. And we're going to point it at 192.168.68.12. And then we're going to go ahead and do the SMB port. So there is an X-Hydra if you want to use that. That's a GUI. It might be installed. But it's nice to have this in a way because anything you produce from the terminal output can be easily copied and pasted to a text file and to quick notes. So I'm not doing that right now, but I would definitely be copying and pasting all this stuff to my notes. That way you don't have to run it again, especially if you're trying to be stealthy. All right, let that run. And off the bat, it says it found root OWASP BPA. Now, again, this is a lab setting. In real life, it's pretty hard to find something to actually get an attack, but this is actually a possible attack thing you can run. So we have root and user. So right there, we have 2 possible logins that were found. Now, the fact that it's root, it really gives me some leverage here. So I'm going to go and kick off something. I think I demoed before. We'll just applications. We're looking for attack applications here. It is exploitation tools, Armitage. So this is, again, this is sort of a GUI level for Metasploit. So it has a built-in password, MSF port, hit connect. It'll tell you need to start our PC server, to say yes. We'll let that run. It's gonna fire up a Java connection here. You'll see the refuse, let it run. All right. So we might already have it show up as a host. It already does, because we have Metasploit running already. So this sort of interfaces with Metasploit. You can see there's actually an Metasploit framework thing down here. But I'm going to go ahead and try to do a login. So we're going to go ahead and do, we can scan. Again, we can do a scan from here if you like. But we're going to go ahead and try to do a log. Let it finish, I guess, huh? So we're just basically rescanning the system again from within Metasploit. Now, of course, really the quickest way to go and test out this attack, before we get to this, let's just minimize that there. One of the easiest ways is this. Going back to our scan results, what other ports are open? And I don't think I have it here. Might be up here. This is where copy and paste your notes is good, right? There we go. So we already see we have SSH open, port 22. So really, in reality, I don't need to bring up Armitage. I just want, if I want to test out this password, SSH root at 192.168.68.12. And then you might get a prompt saying this is an unknown host. Yes, to add that known to your known host. So you would say yes, and then password. Fat finger here. OWASPBWA. And look at that. We're logged in. And we're logged in as root. So again, it's we're in. It's now this is the lab environment. We're in. You can say that. Now I can, of course, feed this username and password to, let's copy that. You can feed that to Armitage if you want. Let's try doing login with SSH. Root. We'll paste the password. Launch. And bam, we're on. Now with it in here, I'm not going to go too much into this. We have all kinds of stuff here. We can kick off all kinds of exploits for Linux. There's post exploits. We're already sort of exploit. We're sort of in the system already, but we can go ahead and gather information here. So now with root, we can definitely enumerate user histories, and you can see this launches a new tab for each thing. So we want to try to grab. We're using those known credentials, and we're looking for any kind of stuff. You can see where it's getting sent to that. Our loot, which is it's a hidden directory .msf5 loot, and it's a big long text name. It's usually a date timestamp and a default and IP address and .text. Look for bash history. Hash dumps. Now again, you can manually do this. You can go in and manually look for these things and grab them. And you see it launches a new tab. It's a nice way to sort of organize. If you're in, and if you're in as root, you can still try to enumerate. You can just open a simple console, SSH in, or open through this and try to gather what you can, and look for possibility of leveraging further exploits to further passwords, further exploits. It could be an OS exploit. Could be another system exploit or service exploit to get better credentials or to gain better access. So we want to avoid our access from maybe a non-root user. So But again, and if you look at the history file, we'll see what we found. And we got to go ahead and do this, and we're going to view. We want to show hidden files, and it's a .msf. It drives you crazy. I don't know why it's hidden. It's funny, like we're on Kali. Looking for loot. All right, so there's 201. Let's see what this one is here. All right, so looks like what things we can do. So it's gathering network information. Let's look at command histories. Okay, we're basically dumping the .bash histories out. And one of the biggest things is just the tool itself is okay, but you might get a lot of errors. Just go in and see, can I get the of course the Etsy password and get the Etsy shadow, and then from there I can find other passwords. And you think to yourself, well, why, if I have root, why find other passwords? Well, the same password and user on the system here could be used in other systems on the network. So I'll look for further attacks. So this might not be my final target. Maybe this is just a part of my pivot. But in any case, that's it. Let's take a look at exploiting SMB, and looks like we have some misconfigured services, weak passwords, a little bit of mix of all that stuff there. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.